Hi, this is Ayanna Thompson introducing Titus Andronicus for the Shakespeare 2020 project. Titus Andronicus is my favorite play. It's got everything and the kitchen sink in it. When I first read Titus Andronicus as an undergraduate, I thought it was so contemporary and modern in the way it was thinking through sexual politics and racial politics. But I also came to find out that I was probably alone in thinking how great Titus Andronicus was in that time. At that time, I discovered that because it was his first tragedy and probably his most bloody and violent, many of the early readers of Titus Andronicus thought it was Shakespeare's Juvenilia, or perhaps just bad, or even not Shakespeare's at all. T.S. Eliot called it like a piece of Juvenilia that was probably not Shakespeare's, and Restoration authors frequently said that it was an undigested piece of work. However, I think it's incredible for the way that it is tackling the revenge tragedy genre, in the way that it's thinking through the never-ending cycles of revenge by doubling the revenge plot. So not only is Titus's family seeking revenge, but also Tamara's family. So we have people seeking revenge against each other at the same time. As I said before, the sexual politics seemed quite revolutionary to me when I read it the first time when I was 19 years old. There is a lot of sexual violence, but also a lot of the play thinks through what it is to be a sexually desiring woman or man, and that this can make one look monstrous or other in certain contexts. And certainly the racial politics stood out to me because they were in such stark contrast to all the other Renaissance texts that I had read to date. It looks at race in an unflinching manner, to the extent that we have Aaron the Moor having an affair with Tamara, Queen of the Goths, and she produces a biracial baby. I think this was the first time I realized that in the 16th century people were thinking about biracial identity, and to me, again, it seemed very modern. As you're reading through the play, some of the things that I like to challenge my students to think about, because there are no right or wrong answers, first are, how old are Chiron and Demetrius, Tamara's sons? The play seems very different if you think that Chiron and Demetrius might potentially be 13 and 14 versus 23 and 24. Their penchant for sexual violence, their penchant for kind of competing with each other, reads very differently and interprets very differently if they are younger. Also, another thing that's kind of up for interpretation, what do you think Lavinia is doing at the end of the play as her father is preparing this bloody banquet? Is she going along with it? Is she resisting him when he goes to kill her? Does she fight? Does she acquiesce? Does she try and flee? Again, there's nothing in the text that suggests there's only one way of interpreting Lavinia's response. And again, the way you read her response will implicate and change the way you understand the play as a whole. Whoops. And finally, I dropped my notes, so I'm going to get them. And finally, what happens at the end of the play to Tamara and Aaron's baby? Because while Aaron promises that he will raise the baby out in the kind of wilderness on berries and fruits and nuts, when Lucius comes back to defeat Rome with the Gothic help, he says that he'll protect the baby, but it's not quite clear whether he will or not. Various productions have toyed with the idea that Lucius kills the baby, whether they show a little baby coffin, as in the BBC filmed version, or whether the baby survives to be carried off, as in Julie Taymor's version. Again, there's no right or wrong answer, but it does affect your interpretation of the play. So I hope you enjoyed Titus Andronicus as much as I have, reading it over and over again over the years, seeing it and teaching it. Have a great time.